Welcome on in, everybody. It's yours truly, Natasha Varela, also known as the Money-nista. 20 years in audit, accounting, and tax. 13 in the large business and international division of yours truly, the IRS, examining large entities that report 10 million or more, and gross receipts or assets. Okay, so I want to talk about real estate professional status. I am a real estate professional via IRS standards. I'm a real estate investor, and I am also a business owner, and I teach wealth building through the tax code via business ownership and real estate investing. Okay, so let's talk about real estate professional status, because this is a very, very important tool in wealth building in the United States tax code as an investor. Okay, so real estate professional status essentially recategorizes rental activity from passive to active. Okay, so normally under Section 469, passive activity losses, your rental losses only offset rental income. Okay, any losses created by what we call phantom expenses like depreciation and, as of 2017, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act bonus depreciation normally would only be reserved for your rental activities. They would not offset your W-2 income, your business income, retirement income, any other income, okay, 1099, wages, whatever have you. And so what real estate professional status does is says, hey, these losses created by your rental activities as a result of these phantom expenses, which is depreciation and bonus depreciation, now can offset all other income, including your W-2 income, including your business income, including your 1099 income, your retirement income, and all other active income, because now it's no longer a passive activity. So what are the requirements for real estate professional status? One, it has to be a long-term rental. Real estate professional status refers to long-term rentals only. That means a year lease or more, okay? Many people will ask me, what about midterm leases? Well, there's only a short-term rental loophole, which I will do in a separate video. But for all intents and purposes, if it is not short-term, it is considered long-term and must fit the long-term rental rules for real estate professional status. What are those rules? The first one is you have to spend over 50% of your time, work-related time, in real estate activities. Keywords, over 50%, and work-related time. Now, for my full-time W-2 people, this is going to be very difficult for you. The IRS is not going to allow you to automatically claim that criteria if you are a full-time employee, okay? It is implied that because you spend most of your time with your employer under your employer's hours, it is impossible for you to spend over 50% of your time, which means 51% or more, in real estate activities. Now, does this happen where you do spend more time in real estate activities than you do your employer? Perhaps you're a first-time real estate investor and you've got a rehab and you spend every waking moment. It's possible. It is possible. The tax code doesn't specifically say you can't, but it is implied, and it has been ruled before that someone who works as a W-2 doesn't meet the first criteria. Okay, and there is a loophole for you guys in the short-term rental loophole, which I'll do in a separate video. But I want to focus on long-term rental so that people do not get confused. Real estate professional status is long-term rentals. Okay, so the first criteria we went over is over 50% of your time, so 51% or more work-related time is spent in your rental activities, your real estate activities. The second criteria is over 750 hours have to be dedicated to these activities. Okay, so over 750 means 751 plus hours total related to these real estate rental activities. Now, under this rule, of the 750 plus, meaning 751 or more, over 500, so 501 hours, must be what you call material participation. Okay, material participation is things like lawn care, okay, snow removal, supervising renovations, inspections, anything you have to do, turnover for your units. Perhaps you have to paint, okay? You've got to change locks. You have to meet a contractor there. Perhaps the boiler isn't working, the thermostat isn't working. You have to make sure get it up and running. In all actuality, you have to be a self-managing owner, okay, real estate investor. If you have a property manager, you're going to have to prove in an audit that the property manager spent less time than you did on the rentals, and that's going to be difficult, okay? So that's just a little tidbit. 2, you cannot include travel time. The IRS has ruled consistently that travel time is not an integral part of the real estate professional status material participation hours. Now, you and I may argue it absolutely is. Okay, I'll give you an example. I had an inspection for one of my properties, the building. Okay, 2 inspections, one by the New York City Department of Buildings, okay, to make sure it was all up to code, because I had some work done in the basement, okay? And 2, I had Section 8 tenants, and the Section 8 inspectors have to come out. Now, if I don't let them in the unit, I cannot get the building cleared for habitation of the tenants. Now I have to travel there, right? That can be considered integral. However, when we're documenting, please document your travel hours separately. This way, if an examiner ever disallows any of your hours in your activity, you can confidently say, my travel hours are documented separately. You cannot take away from the actual hours in the activity. So I'll give you an example. It took me an hour to get to my rental, okay? Traffic included, and I opened the door for the inspector. The inspection took about an hour between all 3 units, okay, and then we left. We spoke, we left, okay, and I went back home for an hour. I documented my activities. I documented the 2 hours of travel time back and forth separately, okay, and then I documented the actual inspection separately, okay, and all items in the inspection with the inspector, including his name, and the date, the time. Each item on each unit that needed to be cleared, needed to be addressed, I documented it. And then I documented the amount of hours. So this way, if anybody ever audits me, an examiner, I can pull the report and say the travel hours are not included. And that's what I actually put in the description, travel hours documented separately, okay? Because if I wanted to fight that this was integral because I can't rent the property, I could. And if they wanted to disallow the hours, I would still have the hours dedicated to the actual activity separate, so they can separately disallow the travel hours, okay? Very, very important. So over 501 hours of the 751 plus hours have to be material. What is not material? Besides travel, investor activities. What are investor activities? Record keeping, right? Collecting rent, remitting it to the mortgage company, bookkeeping, things of this nature, right? Anything accounting related, anything administrative, those are investor activities. So please document those separately, okay? It's important because, again, the IRS, scrutinizes real estate professional status as real estate professional status offsets all other income. And that's tax that they're not receiving, right? That is revenue from your withholdings, from your business, from your 1099 that they're not receiving. So they'll look for any little thing to disallow the hours dedicated to your rental activities. And so that's why I say not to include investor hours, which are things that are administrative in nature, okay? And not to include travel. Make sure that the hours that you are involved are actual dedicated to day-to-day operations, okay? You want to mow the lawn yourself? Great. If you want to hire somebody or coordinate to mow the lawn, great. That's still material because you hired the person. My lawn care people, they send me a picture every time that the lawn is done. I communicate with them via text. Now let's talk about the second part of the 750 hours. You have to have active participation. Active participation is you own at least 10% of the property and you made major management decisions such as approving tenants and expenditures. Okay. And that's most of us who are smaller real estate investors. You may own 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 properties, whatever have you. You screen the tenants, maybe perhaps you hold open houses for a rental, whatever. That is also a material participation. Okay, you physically being there because you have to get the unit rented. That's part of a day-to-day operation, but that's also considered active participation. Now, you don't have to document active participation because active participation is in some ways material as well. And so most of us meet active participation guidelines, right? If you go to work full-time and you have a rental, you may not meet material participation or the over 50% rule dedicated to your rentals. But most of us, we own at least 10% of the property and we still approve expenditures and or tenants, okay? So if you only meet active participation, you're not going to be able to meet real estate professional status, but you will be allowed up to $25,000 of your losses. Okay. And that is specifically for my people who asked me, well, my CPA said I only, I make too much money. I make over $150,000. That's because the $25,000 limit, the threshold refers to those who only meet active participation rules. And you get up to $25,000 as long as your adjusted gross income is $100,000 or less. It starts to phase out completely to zero at $150,000 in your adjusted gross income. So that's what your preparers and CPAs are referring to. Now, what's very, 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 very important when you're documenting your real estate professional hours, more important than anything, is that you have clear evidence and proof. Now, we use in the Tax Strategies Mastermind, which I'm the owner and founder. I teach people how to build wealth through real estate and business ownership, but we use Reps Tracker, REPSTRACKER.com, promo code MONEYNISTA. Reps Tracker allows you to upload documentation, document your activities, assign the time that you spent in the activities, categorize the activities, and you must upload proof. What is proof? Proof is email correspondence, billing estimates, billing invoices, receipts, things of that nature. If you have a text message communication with your tenants, I would screenshot and upload the screenshots. If you have phone conversations with your tenants or any contractor, I would follow up with an email as per our conversation regarding insert subject and discuss what you talk about. And when they respond, that is your proof that the activity occurred, even though it was on the phone. Okay. For things like mowed the lawn, you may not need documentation, particularly if you live on the property in one of the units and you rent out another unit or units and you do the lawn care yourself and you do the waste management yourself, you pull the trash out and in. Of course, you cannot upload documentation, but I encourage you to not pad your hours, right? So if you have acres upon acres of land that you mow, it may make sense that it took you 3 hours. If you have a standard maybe house with a front lawn and a backyard, it won't take you 4 hours. An examiner is going to see right through that you padded the hours. And so I encourage you to appropriately assign hours to your activities. Do not pad hours, because once they see that you're padding hours through egregious efforts, they're going to disallow all the hours. So now Reps Tracker allows you to download the report with all the links to the evidence. So that's something you may want to consider. Now, you can document in a more archaic way. You can keep an Excel spreadsheet. You can keep folders of all your invoices and all of your billing estimates and your contracts. You can keep all of screenshots in a folder if you want to. It's just easier when you use an application. If you're like me, you love a good application. All that being said, real estate professional status, in summary, is over 50% of your work-related time must be involved in your real estate rental activities. So my full-time W-2 people, you're not going to get away with it. 2, you have to have over 750, which means 751 plus hours dedicated to these activities. And of those hours, you have to have over 500 of those hours dedicated to material activities such as screening tenants, inspections, supervising renovations, things that are required for your day-to-day operations rentals, okay? Document appropriately, assign the appropriate amount of time. Lastly, you must meet active participation guidelines. At least 10% of the property you must own, and you must make the major management decisions, such as approving tenants and expenditures. Real estate professional status relates to long-term rentals, okay? Long-term rentals. For those of you who have homes, single-family homes, and you want to convert your basement into, or you dorm or your house and convert it into an apartment, please get a certificate of occupancy. Your house will not be considered a multifamily, and therefore those real estate professional hours may not count. There are tax rules, and then there are your county and city rules. Let's just make sure everything is seamless. I hope this was informational to you. If you want to learn more, go ahead and visit www.themoneynista.com, register for my free live training, or enroll in Tax Strategies Mastermind. It is for business owners and real estate investors. Until next time, happy wealth building.